Mr. O says, I tried this with Well of Radiance and Sunshot and it slaps. Imagine this with Wrath of Rasputin, Rage of the Warmind, and Global Reach. Taking charge and high energy fire just to round it out. Well, Mr. O, boy do I have something special for you today. This is number 3 out of... fuck, how many were there? I don't even know anymore. All I remember is that I lost count last week and I'm again in a perpetual state of behind schedule. It's number 3 for Battle Harmony builds. There. So grab a chair, whip out that notebook, and get ready to take some notes, because it's Sunshot time. You know, I actually used to hate this gun. I remember getting it for the first time during the Red War campaign, and I just sat there staring at it in awe. And then I tried firing it, and my opinion immediately went from, this is awesome, to how is anyone supposed to hit anything with this? The stability just blows, that's a fact. It just sucks, but there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Long story short, Sunshot got a catalyst that made it legitimately usable to someone like myself, and to this day I'm still trying to finish the Sunblast kills because I just didn't care and I never actually thought that I'd end up for real using it? Joke's on me, I guess. Who'd have thought it? Regardless, this build is simple. At its most bare bones, you'll need only 3 things. You'll need Sunshot, Mantle of Battle Harmony, and Wrath of Rasputin. There's 1,000 different ways to achieve the same effect, but this is the way I'm gonna go about it because it's easy and the mods are seasons old now, so most players likely already have access to all the things that they need. That being said, let's slide on over to skill trees real quick and take a look. This one is simple. If you want extra healing, go with Well of Radiance. Now, I've got a strong feeling I'll be talking about middle tree in the very near future, but for now, let's start with the bottom tree Dawnblade, because that's where all the big booms are at. And I'm sure you guys already know just how much I love it when my explosions explode. We've got 4 abilities, 2 of them passive, 2 of them active. Igniting Touch is going to burn targets and eventually make them explode. AoE Radius is optimal, great for small crowds. Phoenix Dive is dual functional. When you're not casting, you'll descend to the ground quickly and restore health. When you are casting, it causes an AoE explosion and returns super energy. Good stuff. Fated for the Flame makes Dawnblade projectiles home in on targets and sends trails of damaging flames on impact. Lastly, Everlasting Fire extends Daybreak's duration on successful kills. Strong subclass and emphasis on blowing things up, definitely a strong pick. Now, I've talked about Battle Harmony many times at this point, but for the sake of anyone new to the game or to the channel, I'm gonna do it again. I'd much rather say the same thing 1,000 times than get lit up in my comments for not saying it a single time. Battle Harmony gives extra super energy on weapon kills that match the element of your subclass. In other words, Arc with Arc, Solar with Solar, and Void with Void. Stasis is the oddball out right now because we don't have any stasis guns that are actually worth anything. However, by Season 15, we will, and I will cross that bridge when I get to it. For now, match the elements of your weapons with your subclass element. Those weapons are going to proc a buff called Energy Siphon. That is the extra super energy, right there. Once your super is full, you'll get a stacking damage buff called Absorption Cells, boosting the damage of any weapons that match your subclass element. So let's take a look at our exotic of choice this time around. As I said, I used to hate this gun, and regardless of how good it is, I'm going to continue to hate it until I finish the Catalyst quest because I'm stubborn. Honestly, the only thing that matters here is Sunblast, which is going to play a huge role in stacking super energy, and the fact that this is a solar hand cannon. It fires explosive slugs, low stability turns shooting into an Olympic event. It's just an all-around fun gun to use when you have the Catalyst. That fixes the stability and range issues. It'll work just fine without it, but you're going to want that Catalyst later, believe me. Now we're going to take a gander at some choice mods, but I'm not recommending any stat values this time. I get yelled at in my comments every single time I do, and it makes me sad. So we're going to do things a little different this time. Instead of telling you what to put where, I'm just going to tell you what you need and the element assigned to it. I'm trying something new and flashy to save on time because making these videos takes forever. Before anything else, you need a single stack of energy converter, which can only slot into Void Armor. It's going to take away a tier of discipline, so we're going to have to compensate for that. Next up, you're going to need stacks on stacks, which also slots Void. It's going to cost you a tier of recovery, but that's not really important. This is going to be followed up by a stack of Wrath of Rasputin, 1 stack of Supercharged, and 2 stacks of Innervation for the grenade regen, which all slot for solar armor as well. And then lastly, Taking Charge and Distribution. You don't have to take Distribution, but I would highly recommend it. It's actually a really good mod. For passive mods, I've got 5 discipline mods, 2 stacks of hand cannon reserves, fastball, and lastly, scout/sniper targeting because I'm stuck with the good old-fashioned long shadow again. Assuming I want to slot barrier sniper is what I mean. I have virtually literally no kinetic snipers safe for this one. I don't want to talk about it. On another note though, if you can get your hands on a succession with recombination and reconstruction, or one that just drops with osmosis, you are in business. There's also the Eye of Soul, but I'm not wading through the cesspool that is Trials to get an adept sniper, and you're not going to catch me in a Grandmaster ordeal for a while, not for quite some time, so that's out of the question as well. Case in point, if you need a kinetic sniper for green brick damage and barriers, those are the 3 best options you've got. Getting back to the mods here, Sunshot also generates orbs of power if you've got the catalyst, and each orb is going to equate to 2 individual charges because stacks on stacks. So your max charge count is 4, but you only need 2 orbs to hit that number, which means you have an extra one that you can use freely or even hold on to for whatever reason. Basically, until you're done casting and you throw a grenade to proc energy converter, you're never going to actually run out of charges, so just throw as you please. If you're feeling frisky, you could even swap firepower for something like high energy fire, or maybe heal thyself. Who knows? That slot is essentially a wild card, and it opens up for some really interesting combinations. Hence why I mentioned Wrath of Rasputin and firepower earlier. You can essentially put whatever you want in this slot. It's wonderful. Anyway, let's take a look at how this functions on a practical level, so you guys can see it. I know that's what you've all been waiting for. Much like many other builds, you don't need to be a biomedical engineer to get a firm grasp on this. Think of this as a template, one that is interchangeable between Sunshot, Tiku's Divination, and just about any other solar weapon that you can think of. Keep in mind though, my version of this is not about running and gunning. You are vulnerable without any defensive mods, so I'd strongly recommend a healing rift with a mid-tier recovery. It's all about stacking charges via multi-kills, and Sunshot has a catalyst. Those orbs are going to drop not just on direct takedowns, but any kills from Sunblast as well, so stacking said charges doesn't take anywhere near as much time as you might think, especially when you factor into the equation stacks on stacks. 1 charge equals 2, so prep time is essentially cut in half. Supercharged allows for the player to stack up to 4 charges, so once you're stacked, you're prepped and ready to get a free 25% super refund after a successful cast, which, I mean, why wouldn't you want that? This is where the experimentation comes into play. See, I was a little unsure of where to go, so I just went with worthy mods. Wrath of Rasputin adds to this immensely. That will add the occasional Warmind cell from a Sunblast kill, and it wreaks some real havoc. It is wonderful, I love it. If you went with firepower instead, you can throw grenades as you please, provided your super is charged past 50%, and you can be sad that you don't get to look at all the pretty explosions. Whatever tickles your fancy, it doesn't matter to me, I don't care. Mantle of Battle Harmony is going to kick in on solar weapon kills, but the catch is that said buff only lasts for 2 seconds, and it does not, I repeat, does not stack. 1 kill is worth 2 seconds on the buff timer. Additional kills while that timer is active are not going to reset it. That's the balancing mechanic for the exotic, and thankfully that's not a holdback either. Sunblast is going to steamroll over mob crowds. That's what the gun is meant for. Occasionally there's going to be a Warmind cell in there as well. Detonate those for the big booms and be happy. This is going to generate chunks of super energy while Energy Siphon is active. Once you're charged, you can hold or release. That's up to you. I much prefer going after single boss targets if possible, but different combat scenarios require different strategies, and every once in a while it feels like a dream to just mow down crowds of mobs with Daybreak, which is what it's meant for to begin with. Once the cast is complete, hit the ground running and chuck that grenade and continue the circle. It's easy, it's fun, it's not super involved or complex, you don't need 17 different things that hardly anyone has. Just go ham with it, it's a goddamn blast. Believe it or not, that pun was actually an accident. I'm sorry. Either way, that's it for today. If you haven't noticed the trend at this point, there will be 2 Mantle of Battle Harmony builds for each element, excluding Stasis. This is number 3, which means we are halfway there. You guys all know the drill by now. My cell, I'm there if anyone needs me.